What's good here is Russell King there, and today we're going to be discussing today's review of Friday Night Smackdown. We're going to go ahead and get straight into it. First, the first thing that happened on the show, it starts off with Cody Rhodes, him being the new WWE champion. Starts off with him with a promo. Comes out to the ring. The crowd is giving him his flowers. They're constantly chanting his name. Barely, he couldn't even get a word in for a little bit. The crowd is really loving Cody Rhodes and loving that he is the new WWE champion. He really deserves it. And it's still very weird for me to see Cody Rhodes with the championship because we've been so used to seeing Roman with that title. It's so weird seeing a new champion. But this promo, it wasn't nothing much. He alluded to The Rock. He alluded to what happened on Monday Night Raw. He mentions what The Rock gave him, and Cody ends up saying that he knows what it is before he even saw it. And he ends up saying that it was a gift that he ended up giving to The Rock. Then later on in the promo, he talks about Mania. I think he talked about the fans for a little bit. But then he also alluded to how The Rock said that he was going to go back to Hollywood. And he said how The Rock, when he comes back, he's going to be coming after Cody. Cody Rhodes basically said that he's going to be there and he's going to be ready. He's going to be ready for The Rock. So can't wait for that. Really can't wait for that Cody Rock feud. That's going to be amazing. That match will be amazing if they have it. I think they will, but that match will be a great. But then towards the end of the promo, he starts alluding to his opponent, his future opponent for Backlash, the next pay-per-view, Backlash in France. He alluded to the 6 opponents that he could potentially face because on this episode of SmackDown, there's 6 opponents and they're going to have 2 matches of triple threat to determine the finals, the 2 opponents in the finals to see who's going to be able to face Cody Rhodes at Backlash. And the 6 opponents are Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, LA Knight, AJ Styles, Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens. So those are going to be split up into 2 matches, and both of them are going to be triple threat matches, and whoever the winners of those 2 matches are going to be in the finals for next week's SmackDown. And whoever wins that is going to be the opponent for Cody Rhodes at Backlash. I think it's going to be AJ Styles, but I feel like that's the only one that makes sense. But we will see. Next up, we got a quick little segment with the Bloodline with Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso. They're walking backstage. They're going to their locker room, but the locker room is taken over by Cody Rhodes. Solo and Jimmy are confused. They're not happy about it. Solo ends up looking at Paul Heyman and ends up saying, I will take care of it. Paul Heyman ends up talking to Solo. He ends up saying that we lost at Mania. And he said wins and losses matter. And wins and losses has consequences. And we lost at Mania. And he said that locker room is to the WWE champion, to Cody Rhodes. He's the champion now. If we want that locker room back, we have to get the WWE championship back to the Bloodline. It ends right there. Solo just looks at him and it ends right there. Then next, and it builds. That was a really good segment. Cody Rhodes has the Bloodline locker room now. It was very funny. Kevin Owens ends up entering the locker room and ends up saying that you're not invited. I love that. Kevin Owens is very funny. He's very funny so naturally. I love Kevin Owens, but that's gonna play into a segment that the Bloodline end up having later on this episode on SmackDown. Next up, we got the triple threat match to determine who's going to be in the finals for the finals to face Cody Rhodes. We got LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, and Santos Escobar. This was a very decent match. The match starts off with Santos Escobar getting jumped by LA Knight and Bobby Lashley, but he ends up escaping. Then once Santos Escobar escapes, Bobby Lashley is looking outside the ring, but then LA Knight tries to do a roll-up pin on Lashley. Lashley kicks out at 2. Then Bobby Lashley and LA Knight was on the outside. Santos took advantage and ends up doing a suicide dive on both Bobby Lashley and LA Knight. Then it goes to commercial break. It was a sequence where Santos Escobar was on the top rope. LA Knight tries to do his signature, a signature suplex where he jumps on the ropes and then he tries to suplex. He does it, but He tries to suplex him but couldn't, and then Bobby Lashley comes from underneath and ends up power bombing both LA Knight and Santos Escobar, which was crazy. I love that spot. Lashley tries to pin Santos. Santos kicks out of two. Then LA Knight ends up attacking Lashley's leg when he was trying to attack Santos. And then he ends up doing a crucifix onto Bobby Lashley, ends up tries to pin him. Santos ends up breaking up the pin. Then we get LA Knight and Santos, they're having a back and forth. LA Knight tosses Santos towards the ropes, hits him with a power slam. Then he ends up doing his signature elbow drop. Then you get Angel Garza and Herberto comes in the ring, interfere in the match, attacks LA Knight. Santos ends up taking advantage and ends up doing a powerbomb on LA Knight. Then Lashley ends up coming back, tries to attack Santos and not Santos. He tries to attack Angel Garza and Humberto, but he gets overpowered. They're constantly attacking Lashley. Then the Street Profits comes out. They end up coming in, taking out Angel Garza and Humberto. Montez Ford, man, he did a very sick suicide dive outside. He did a very sick suicide dive, but they end up taking out Angel Garza and Humberto, and then it was just Then it was Lashley, Santos, LA Knight all in the ring. Lashley tries to go for a spear. Santos avoided it. Lashley hit the ring post. LA Knight hits the BFT on Santos and wins. So he's in the finals for next week's SmackDown. And we're going to see his opponent is later on in this video. But he ends up making it to the finals to get a chance at Cody Rhodes WWE Championship. Next slide. The main thing from this SmackDown, the Bloodline segment, the Bloodline promo. Jimmy, Solo, and Paul Heyman are all in the ring. Paul Heyman starts off by saying, Paul Heyman ends up saying that by the orders of the tribal chief, there are no excuses for what happened at WrestleMania. Everything that happened is basically their fault. And then he ends up saying that we don't blame John Cena. We don't blame The Undertaker. We don't even blame Jey Uso. He says accountability is a huge thing and Roman Reigns accepts that. He starts mentioning what happened at WrestleMania last year, WrestleMania 39. He mentions that Roman Reigns was prepared. He was focused, and how Cody Rhodes wasn't focused. Cody Rhodes was focused on other things. But then he said that at 40, Cody Rhodes was the one that was focused. And he mentions how Seth Rollins was Cody Rhodes' shield. He said that Roman Reigns took advantage. He mentions how last year Roman Reigns was focused and was willing to do anything, and how he took advantage of Solo helping him. And he flipped it and said Cody was the one that was like Roman last year. He took advantage of what Seth did in being his shield. And he mentions how Roman couldn't let go of what happened with the shield. Couldn't let go of the steel chair that Seth hit with the back. And he said that Roman couldn't let that go. He ends up hitting Seth Rollins instead, and that cost him at WrestleMania 40. Then, after he mentions that, Paul Heyman was about to start hyping up Roman Reigns. He was about to start hyping up Roman Reigns, his tribal chief. Solo walks over him and interrupts Paul Heyman. He walks up and then he talks on the mic and ends up saying that losing and winning matters, right? Paul Heyman then respond, and then Solo said right in an aggressive tone. Paul Heyman said right, and then Paul Heyman is fearing for his life here. And then he says, then Solo responds, says, consequences need change. Looks directly at Jimmy. Jimmy is confused. Jimmy is, pleading his case and all. But Solo ends up walking towards Jimmy, and then he hugs him. Hugs him. Jimmy hugs him back. He whispers in his ear and says, you are my brother, and I love you. And he walks away. Jimmy is trying to high-five him like he always does. Solo's not high-fiving him. He walks away. I thought Solo was going to spike him, but he didn't. He walks away, but then Tonga attacks Jimmy Uso from behind. I popped for this. I was very excited for this. He ends up attacking Jimmy from behind, and then they're jumping him, and then Solo ends up spiking Jimmy 4 times. He spiked him 4 times. That was like Solo ends up spiking Jimmy constantly. Then, after he spikes him 4 times, Paul Heyman was in the corner and he's very scared because he's very confused, very shocked because Roman wasn't the one that told him to do this. Solo did it on his own, or someone told Solo to do it. So Paul Heyman's scared. He's fearing for his life. He's confused because the tribal chief Roman Reigns didn't order this. Solo wants Paul Heyman to join him, and he wants him to throw up the ones. They're throwing up the ones, and then as they're throwing up the ones, Paul Heyman gets his phone, and he's about to do the typical call Roman Reigns. As he's doing it, Solo takes his phone, throws it on the ground, and stomps it. He stomps it, avoiding him to be able to call Roman Reigns. Then he told Tama Tonga to get a chair. Solo ends up placing the chair inside of. He puts Jimmy's head through the chair, and then he ends up going to the other turnbuckle, and he does the signature. I don't know what it's called, but when he ends up like turning his body, hitting his basically his butt onto Jimmy's face with the chair. As he's about to set it up, Paul Heyman acting is amazing. He starts yelling at Solo. He starts saying, Jimmy, don't. He says, Solo, don't do it. He starts screaming, this is not what the tribal chief want. Paul Heyman is so amazing, man. His acting is so great. This is amazing. This was an amazing segment. This is really giving a new side of Solo that we haven't seen in a while. Solo hasn't felt this important to the bloodline since he first arrived, since he first got there. I love this, and I'm very interested in the storyline. Right now, it's looking very interesting because it's like, is Solo trying to be the new tribal chief, or was he ordered by someone, which we'll get to later. But next up, we got Braun Breaker versus Cameron Grimes. I'm not gonna really talk about this. This was a very quick swash match. It looks like Braun Breaker is getting the Goldberg treatment, which I'm not mad at, but I'm not really mad at because, to be fair, the main event scene is a little crowded, so it makes sense because a lot of people kind of complain when certain new stars or new up and coming NXT guys don't get pushed to the moon immediately, but the main event scene is crowded, and in order to build someone up, someone has to come down. So I think swash matches are fine, but I really hope that they eventually, sooner rather than later, start giving him real competition. But also, stop changing theme songs. Why are we changing Braun Breaker theme song? The new theme song sucks. It sucks. His old thing fit him so perfectly. I don't know what it is with WWE changing everyone's theme song. Please stop. Stop changing things that don't need to be changed. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, his new theme is terrible. They kept the dogs barking at the beginning, but they changed everything. They made it great about it. Like, why? Like, it can't be money because you own the original version. So I don't understand. Stop changing things. And I heard that there might be changing Carmelo Hayes' theme song when he comes to the main roster. Please don't. Stop changing themes that don't need to be changed. What we're gonna do? Change Trick Williams' theme when he comes? Like, don't do it. Stop changing things that don't need to be changed. That made me mad because his new theme sucks. But he ends up beating Cameron Grimes. Nothing more to say about that. Next up, we got Bayley's promo. Bayley's basically come out saying that she appreciates the fans. Talk about her being new women's champion. Basically showing love to the fans. She gets interrupted by Tiffany Straten because Bayley was about to allude to. It looked like Bayley was about to allude to an open challenge, but Tiffany Straten ends up interrupting, and Tiffany ends up saying that I thought it was rude that I wasn't given an opportunity at WrestleMania. Who better than the center of the universe to shine on the grandest stage? Tiffany ended up saying that it was obvious that you was going to call out an open challenge, so I accept. She thought it was an open challenge, but Bayley ends up telling her that it wasn't an open challenge and said that she was actually going to call out Naomi for her opportunity. Tiffany ends up responding and says that she couldn't win a title even if it glowed in the dark. I thought that was funny. I love that clap back. That was actually funny to me. Now, Naomi, I always call her Naomi, but it's Naomi. Naomi comes out, and then they're both, all three of them in the ring. Tiffany starts off, says that, excuse me, we was in the middle of something, and by the way, I already beat you. Naomi responded and said that you tried me on the wrong night. You may have beaten me, but I have earned everything here in the WWE, and I don't plan on stopping now. Naomi alludes to that she wants to fight Tiffany, and then the match ends up getting confirmed that Tiffany Straten and Naomi. As the match is going on, we get a segment with Paul Heyman. He's coming out the emergency room of Jimmy Uso, and then Paul Heyman gets interviewed by Kayla Braxton, and she was like, "What?" Kayla basically asks, "What was that? What just happened?" And asks, "Is Jimmy okay?" Paul Heyman has a shook look. He's like, "Jimmy's not okay," and Paul Heyman's confused. He's like, "I don't know," but he gets interrupted by Tonga, and Tonga comes up and whispers in his ear, said that he ends up saying that by orders of the tribal chief. And I'm like, and then Solo ends up coming up and ends up just smiling and has his thumb and walks away. And Paul Heyman's confused. He was like, "What was that? Orders by the tribal chief?" In my opinion, I think it's The Rock calling the shots. It's The Rock calling the shots, and he's telling Solo and Tama Tonga to do this, in my opinion. But if they're alluding to Solo trying to be the new tribal chief, I'm not mad at it. But I think it's The Rock calling the shots here. All I know is either SummerSlam or Survivor Series is going to be amazing, because they're definitely doing a Bloodline Civil War. They're definitely alluding to that. But next up, we got Naomi versus Tiffany Straten. Not really much to go off here. This match, kind of disappointing because this went on for a bit, but this match wasn't that good. I'm going to be honest with you. It was very slow for whatever reason. Like, with women like Tiffany Straten and Naomi, this match shouldn't be that slow, but surprisingly, it was very slow. But it wasn't good. It was more on the mid side. Which was very shocking because Tiffany Stratton typically put on good matches, and Naomi is a decent wrestler. So it was very weird. The pacing of this match was kind of bad. It was very slow. But Naomi ends up picking up a win. So it's going to be Naomi versus Bayley tomorrow for the WWE Championship. Very excited for that match. Next up, we got Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. This started off with Piper and Chelsea talking to Nick Aldis, Chelsea being the typical Karen that she is, and she starts annoying Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis ends up saying that, ends up alluding that she has a surprise and she's gonna like her opponent for tonight on SmackDown. Chelsea is excited, and then Chelsea, of course, ends up being angry that it's Bianca and Jade. This was basically a squash match. It wasn't that long. Jade picks up the victory, and it looks like that Jade and Bianca are going to be a tag team, which I think is a great idea because, this gives... It looks like they're going to protect Jade Cargill by putting her in tag matches. So it looks like that she still needs a little bit of work inside the ring, I'm assuming. That's why she's not going to be a single star, which I'm not mad at. Now, I will say this. I understand what they're doing with the squash matches, but man, it gets very hard to support this only because we waited so long for Jade, and now you're finna just have her have 2-minute matches. It kind of hurts a little bit. But I understand. But also, too, if they're going to have them be a tag team, I don't know how you drag this out, only because the tag team division for the women tag titles, it's very weak. No offense, it's very weak. And number two, they haven't really built up them tag team titles, and I just don't see a way where you could build this up because the tag team division for the women is so weak that they have no choice but to have... You have Bianca Belair and Jade. There's no choice for them but to squash everyone. The only tag team that could kind of compete with them would be Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. That's it. Every other tag team is getting demolished, so I don't know how long they could build this up, to be honest with you. But eventually, we know what's going to happen. Jade Cargill is going to turn on Bianca. They're not doing a Bianca heel turn. That's for sure. They're definitely not doing that. They're definitely going to eventually have a rivalry, and that's going to be amazing. I can't wait for them to actually fight, but it seems like they're going to protect Jade Cargill for a while and put her in tag matches. It looks like Bianca Belair is going to carry the majority of the load. But next up, we got the triple threat to determine who will be in the finals to face LA Knight. It's going to be Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, and AJ Styles. This was actually a very good match, very solid match. But we're going to get to the ending sequence where Rey Mysterio was on the top rope, and he tries to do like he tried to like swing AJ Styles' body. No, AJ Styles was on the top rope. AJ Styles tried to grab him with Rey Mysterio tried to grab AJ Styles with his legs and toss him on the mat, but AJ Styles ends up catching him, and Kevin Owens was on the ground, and then AJ Styles does a Styles Clash onto Kevin Owens for the victory. Ends up pinning, I think he pins Kevin Owens or Rey Mysterio. I forgot which one. Ends up picking up the victory. Ends up winning, and it's gonna be AJ Styles versus LA Knight, and for next week's SmackDown, and I can't wait for that. I think AJ Styles is clearly going to win. It's going to be some shenanigans. LA Knight is going to be protected. He's going to be protected. AJ Styles is going to win by cheating of some sort. Something's going to happen. It only makes sense for AJ to win because LA Knight just won off of Mania, and plus, they're facing Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is your biggest baby face. You don't put your biggest baby face in his first title defense against another big baby face. You just don't do that. Because if they're face, LA Knight will be a heel. It makes no sense to make LA Knight the villain in that feud. It doesn't make sense. Because fans are going to choose Cody Rhodes over LA Knight any day. They just are. So you might as well put an actual heel that people can boo against Cody Rhodes. So I think AJ Styles will win this, and Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles will be the backlash match, which I actually enjoy. Because I'm loving AJ Styles' heel stuff, and that match will be great. That match will be amazing, and I can't wait for that. But that is your episode of SmackDown. This was a very solid episode. Really enjoyed it, especially the Bloodline stuff. Who do you guys think is calling the shots? Is Solo trying to be the new tribal chief? Is it The Rock? What do you think of Tama Tonga being the new member of the Bloodline? But let me know what you guys thought of this episode of SmackDown. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's it.